Ito-san, thank you very much for stopping by.
No, thank you very much for having me.
You're the CEO of PowerX. You provide already in Japan two mega batteries, the Mega Power and the Cube, which is a bit smaller. You also connect one of your battery to a Nipper charger for some automotive electric car EVs who would like to recharge directly in cities or outside. And you have this crazy project of a battery tanker. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
First, you already provide some hyperchargers and batteries,
Yes.
but you work a lot with OEM, but foreign ones, so with BMW and Mercedes, is I'm correct? Where do we stand in terms of Japanese automotive company launching their own EVs in Japan? We have the Leaf, but it's still small. How do you see the market evolving? And do you think that you will, in the future, manage to have clients in this industry?
Yeah, so you have to keep in mind that of new cars shipped, EVs, battery EVs, are about 2% in this country.
Yes.
So we're very, very small penetration for battery electric vehicles in Japan. There are many reasons for this, including, I think, charging availability, which we are trying to fix. So we have a battery buffered EV charger, so you don't need high voltage from the power grid. You can have low voltage, but we have a battery to boost the power, so you can still charge your car really, really quickly, really high voltage. We've been successfully working with many European OEMs who are, let's face it, have a very large product lineup of EVs. So there's plenty of cars to sell here, and to buy the cars, you need to charge them, and that's why I think charger deployment has been faster with the Europeans. Now, the Japanese OEMs, as you can see clearly, publicly, there are very few fully battery electric vehicles, whereas there are many, many hybrid options and plug-in hybrid options. So I think it's a matter of strategy, and the Japanese OEMs publicly have said in the next 2 years, they're going to have a lot of choices for battery EVs, and I believe that. So I think it's just a matter of timing. And I'm hoping that in the next 2 years, we see a big uptick in battery EVs in Japan. And yeah, because I sell chargers, you need the cars to charge. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see more Japanese players really stepping it up in EV sales soon.
But you're saying it's a recharging infrastructure issue, but my understanding was also that the orders or the instruction from Japanese OEM were asking the METI not to push too fast because it would benefit to foreign brands and not to their own brands. So you feel now there's an alignment. I mean, OEM say, okay, we're coming, so push the METI to help to develop a real recharge infrastructure?
Well, so there's a lot of decoupling of the markets as countries try to protect their own industries. We see it in Europe, we see it in the US, we now see it in Japan, because there are industries that are here that the government and of course the companies here, the economy here wants to protect. Now, at the end of the day though, it is economics. So if you can get a battery electric vehicle at the same price of a hybrid in 2 or 3 years, and you have much fewer gas stations, which is actually a trend. Gas stations have been downtrending for many years now, and it's very expensive, and the labor is hard, and building a new one is very prohibitively, it's a lot of work. Whereas building an EV station, you can do in 3 days, you can fast charge the cars with the battery, it's really a quick installment. So I think as the price parity between hybrid electric and fully electric cars begin to hit in the next 1 to 2 years, we're going to start to see more market penetration. That doesn't mean dominance. That doesn't mean we're going to get to 70, 80% EVs, but we may easily get to 30, 40% EVs. And I think the Japanese companies will be ready in the next 2 years. And so, yeah, we're taking our time, but I think Japan will be ready.
For your business of energy storage, for the Mega Power and the Cube, where do you get your electricity from? Because originally you were very into SDGs, you would like to only fill them with renewable, or at least, so is it doable at the moment in Japan? Can you manage to get enough renewable electricity to fill in those big energy batteries?
Yeah, so the customer buys the big battery to basically charge. So when you charge a battery, you're buying electricity.
Yes.
So you want to buy electricity as cheaply as possible and then sell it when it's more expensive. It's arbitrage. So the cheap electricity is from solar during the day. So as nuclear power comes back online, we have a trend that I don't see going anywhere. It's going to be like this for a long time, where energy prices are a U. During the day, when there's a lot of solar, the power price is really cheap, like 0.1 yen, 0.01 yen on some days. Same power, the U, you come back up at night. Between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m., power is very expensive because there's no more solar. So what a battery does is you buy power at the bottom of the U when it's cheap, and then you sell it at the top. So yeah, my batteries are charging basically residual solar, surplus wind. It doesn't really make sense to charge using high-priced power. So mostly it's combined with VRE, variable renewable energy. So solar, wind, or one of those sources, yeah.
But you can find this electricity everywhere in Japan?
Yeah, they're everywhere in Japan. And if you look at the Japan METI's energy plan, solar is huge. Solar is like 20% plus of the energy composition.
In their next plan?
Yeah, and there's a lot of solar now, but the problem is, because there's no battery, during that day, the reason it's 0.1 yen is because there's too much, no customer. And so they have to turn them off. So in Kyushu right now, about 40% of solar is turned off regularly during the day because the grid can't take it. So that's why having battery storage it's an emergency. You really need to do this. And Kyushu is ahead of the curve because nuclear power has come back. Nuclear power will be back all over the country in the next few years. And so we'll have so much abundance of surplus solar. You need the batteries. You need to do this, or else we're wasting billions of yen of power every day.
Who are your typical customers? Who do you want to sell the Mega Power or the Cube to?
So our main customers are actually energy companies. So they're oil and gas, they're power companies, grid companies, shosha as well, trading companies. Anybody who has a business in electricity or anybody who uses a lot of electricity is a customer. And so they buy the batteries and they create battery farms. So you line up 3 to up to 80 battery farms on a plot of land, and you just draw in the power and you buy and you sell. There's lots of arbitrage and different kinds of markets you can bid in. Another one is factories. So you want to run the factory as much as possible on clean power. So you do it during the day with solar, and then at night you have another set of solar, either on or off site, that you've been charging during the day, and you draw from the battery at night. That way you can get 2 days of solar in one day. And the battery is now cheap enough that this makes sense. So we have a lot of industrial customers and power customers.
You're using lithium-ion cells in your batteries. You say they are made in Japan. The assembly is in Japan, but you have to source your cathode, your anode, the graphite, everything, the nickel, abroad, I guess mainly in China or in Korea. How is the market evolving? Because recently I was working on graphite. China is saying they're going to put an embargo on export of certain quality of graphite. So how do you go around this? Does it make sense still to assemble those battery here?
Yeah, okay. So what we do is we buy battery cells, and China is a big supplier. We buy from China. Now, battery cells are basically your AAA or quadruple A batteries. You know, like in your TV remote, the cell has no controller. And it has a plus and a minus, and it draws power or it charges. That's it. We buy those cells. We buy really good ones. So that's a completed product. There's no embargo on that. China wants to sell a lot of cells. So we buy the cells, and then we pack them into our own battery. And what we do different is we do all of the control of the battery in-house. So when a Japanese grid company is buying batteries, they don't want to buy batteries they can't control or that Japan can't control. So it's a national security theme where when you have many, many grid batteries all over the country, they're essentially power plants. By law, they're power plants. Anything bigger than a 10 megawatt connection is considered a power plant. And power plants have to adhere to national security and strict security control. So that's why we add value there. We take the Chinese cells, we control it, package it ourselves, and we give you a fully Japan-controlled, made-for-Japan battery product that you can now connect to the grid. And so it's more popular than importing other completed products that are black boxes, essentially.
One word on your very audacious project, the battery tanker, the first in the world, the ARC. The idea is to move renewable energies more than we could do, to cut the issue of the cable that are expensive, complicated to manage, or maybe to connect to wind power turbine in the ocean. Where do you stand? My understanding is extremely expensive. You need a lot of capex to develop these boats. So when will we see the first ARC?
Okay. So the battery tanker is a very simple idea. You're taking a grid battery.
Yeah.
So on land, you can have 30 batteries. You see them all over the world. What we're doing is taking 98 of these batteries and putting them on a ship. That's it. Yeah. Nothing new. So the only difference between land and a ship is safety. Because you have human beings on the ship. If you have a fire, they can't escape. So you can never have a fire. So the technical challenge is increasing the safety enough so that we can pass all the regulatory standards to have a safe battery tanker. That's all. And we've been doing this for the past 2.5, 3 years. We've been designing a fireproof battery, basically. And it's a lithium ferrophosphate, LFP battery, which are already known to be extremely safe, in really safe packaging with different features to basically, for it to never catch fire, never have an uncontrolled runaway thermal event. And we have a factory that produces this, and we've already built the line out. We have begun production of the test modules now, okay. And we need 14,000 modules in a ship for it to be a battery tanker. My line in Okayama can build this in 1.5 months. So we are at capacity where we can make 8 battery tankers worth of marine batteries right now. Now, the next process is certification. It's like an airplane, it's like a ship. To have a safe vessel, to be fully certified and okay to run, it's just going to take time. So we see maybe another 2 years in certification, maybe less, and then we can see the first ship. We have many projects right now, and the battery tanker can really connect. For example, the very easy one is remote islands. Right now, there are lots of islands in Japan where you have tens of thousands of people living, where you're taking diesel and burning it at the island, and this is expensive. So a marine battery-powered battery tanker can take electricity to these islands. Ultimate goal, though, is offshore wind. So Tokyo offshore has lots of strong wind. It's 100 kilometers offshore. People don't fish there. Ocean is too deep for cable. If we can put 100, 200 windmills out there and have the battery tanker just go in, back and forth, you can come back to a decommissioned fossil fuel plant, like a coal or a gas plant, and dock and power the Tokyo grid without any new land infrastructure. And this can be done, I think, within the next 5 to 7 years. The windmill part's going to take a little bit longer because it's floating, but definitely within the next decade, the whole system can be up and running. So we start with the islands, we start with grid interconnection, and then we go to offshore wind.
Fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.